let's go ahead and get into this evening's meetup. So again, thank you all for being here. I'm sure more people are going to be showing up, as always happens. But we're going to go ahead and get started. This month's meetup is Family Values, Class and the Meaning of Success. So in the words of Bell Hooks, it's fashionable to talk about race or gender, but the uncool subject is class. In 2022, it is rare to hear the term class spoken of publicly, yet the topic of success finds its way to newscasts, book titles, and YouTube channels. Today, we're here to discuss class as it relates to success. When it comes to defining success, we all have varied outlooks on what that means. We can also consider how our views of success have been shaped by our class. And while we don't get to choose the class affiliation that we are born into, it still shapes our identities. For me as a child, I was drawn to music and playing instruments. And while I was not discouraged from learning to play instruments, I was also not encouraged to pursue music as a career. Instead, my family urged me to study hard, focus on learning, with a goal that I could pursue traditional working class desires like becoming a doctor or a lawyer, which is very common for so many of us. So there are so many varied success stories that are rooted in class values, connected to income goals, or even just the pursuit of a passion. And today we want to explore and learn about what success has been and could be for you, and how class has shaped how you define success. Pursuing your passion and pleasing your family draws a thin line, but success can be defined on your own terms. So who has something they want to add about today's topic, maybe in connection to the image and what you see stated on there? Or maybe you just want to ask a question or share a brief story with us. I see a hand. Is that you, Rosella? Yep, go for it. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. So this resonates with me so much because this is what this is what my body of work is. And, you know, my parents are immigrants. So, you know, they had bought into the whole thing of achieving the American dream as the success. So I had done that, but then reached that height and was not feeling fulfilled or anything. So in terms of redefining what success was, it was self-exploration, learning who I was, learning what my loves were, learning what I was naturally gifted at doing, and making that like the center point, and then the finances around that. So my happiness and fulfillment first, connection and community, and then the finances around that.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Thank you. Can you, if you want, so this is something we often hear, right? The immigrant experience and what our immigrant parents want for us, right? Do you want to tell the audience what did they want for you out of a career or a job?
Sure. So when you had spoken earlier about like lawyer, doctor, engineer, like that's just
why is it always the same? It's like a blueprint, right? Everybody, doctor or a lawyer.
so those were the only terms I heard at home. And so I was supposed to do, I chose doctor, but then I veered and went off into therapy. But yeah, it was like that was supposed to make good on the sacrifices that they made. Like that was supposed to be the guarantee. But in actuality, that's just the whole premise of the states and like colonialism and all of that stuff. Like it's just to get more bodies in the system, you know, to be working. And so by what I personally have found is that by self-exploring and looking at my own gifts, like that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be creating. We're supposed to be passionate and connected with our passions, and to help others to do the same, so that we're actually living as opposed to just being bodies in the system and not having control in our lives.
Right. Thank you. So we have another hand that was just up, but also doctor, lawyer, and I forgot engineer, right? We're all supposed to become doctors, lawyers, or engineers. So please correct me if I'm not saying your name correctly. Is it Rumbi Zai?
Yep, you nailed it.
Thank you.
So I'm actually kind of in a name transition. For my whole life, I've gone by Rumbi, for short. I grew up in South Carolina. People butchered my name all the time, but I'm kind of at a point now, people can say it. And I I think actually people have gotten a lot better at saying it just because we're all exposed to, more names. So what resonates with me about this idea is I'm kind of coming out of this place, I think like Rosella was saying, of this is what I should be doing. Now, I'm also a child of immigrants. My parents are from Zimbabwe, and they came here already highly educated. So it was just expected that you would go to college and perhaps get an advanced degree. Now, because I'm the baby in the family, the requests weren't as specific as like doctor, lawyer, right, et cetera. But there was still an expectation of, right, you're going to do something to support yourself. And so what I've been untangling for myself in the last couple of months is, what does supporting myself mean? What does success mean? And it actually has very little to do with what I was telling myself I should be doing, right, based on my parents. So my parents are perfectly happy that they don't have to pay my way. Like, that is a success, right? In their mind, like, would they have liked me to be a doctor? Yeah, maybe. But the fact that I don't have to come for them and that I can actually support them in some ways is a success. So a lot of it was in my own head as to the path that I thought I should take. So that's the first point. And the second point that I've been working on for myself is to be grateful for what they did instill in me, because it allows me to now do what I want, right? So the resourcefulness, the sense of independence, the ability to do things that you don't like to do, right? Because we're told that that's just what you got to do. Life sucks, you work and you die, is kind of the mentality. And if you're lucky, you get to do some fun stuff along the way, right? And now we are prioritizing the things that we really want to do because we could be dead tomorrow. But all of those tools that they gave me, or that they sometimes like compelled me to do, are things that I now get to do on my own terms later. So I'm trying to be grateful for that, that it wasn't all bad. It wasn't all, a bunch of things that I didn't want to do, but it gave me the ability to now kind of use those same tools in the way that I want to.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, wow. That's a really great shout. Can you, what were those values again? You said you learned from your parents.
I think resourcefulness,
a
sense of independence, and a grind, right? Like, you're not everything that you have to do, like, you don't have to like it, right? I think was what I was told as a child, right? We all do things that we don't like. We all have jobs sometimes that we don't enjoy. We all have crappy bosses, but you just have to muscle through it sometimes, and I resented that at the time, but now I'm like, but that allowed me to achieve some things, right, that other people might have given up on along the way.
What are some values you learned around this idea of success? Maybe you learned from your parents that are part of, value systems that you carry along with you, or maybe even ones that you are getting rid of. Let's see, who do we have here? Is it Raquel? Yeah, go for it. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks. My dad was a migrant farm worker and went up and down the coast, as did a lot of other Mexican families and other, BIPOC families. But this kind of keep your head down and work hard and do the work and just show up and keep going. And, that has paid off for me in many ways. Sometimes it comes at the expense of like, I've really had to learn. I'm now a yoga teacher full time, and I've been doing that for most of my adult life. And so I've had to really claim wellness, right? Like mental wellness and physical wellness. And I've had to claim that, because even generationally, that's not something that was ever prioritized. It's just like, keep your head down, work hard, do what needs to be done. Oh, my dad's walking by in the background.
Hi, Dad.
Okay, Pop. That is so funny, especially because I'm talking about him. There's like no concept of Zoom. Now he's talking to the dog. So it's, but also I guess this too, that like as our parents like grow and age, like we take them into the home, and I get the privilege of being with my dad, and playing cards after dinner every night. And, like it's just, it's such a, that feels exciting to me. And that simplicity of working hard, showing up, being with family, that, what a gift, what a gift. And then it did force me to really claim my sense of adventure and autonomy, and knowing that I have agency over what I want to do and be in the world. Anyway, I'm excited. I just have to say I'm excited to be here because it's the first time I've been able to make one of these. And so super excited. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. We're excited to have you. And it's amazing to hear your story. Even more amazing to see your dad walk in the background as you're talking about him.
I know, to see Sam Bueno in the background.
Yeah. And he's probably like, why is my daughter talking to a computer right now? But, right. Working class immigrant people issues, right. Where it's like, they're like, what are you doing? But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And also I love that you shared how important it is that you get to do something like play cards with your dad at night, because that's success to me, right? That sounds to me like maybe you don't have a 6-digit income, maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? But if you don't have that, anybody, but you get those kinds of things, sounds like you did something right,
Yeah, yoga teachers rarely have.
Yoga teachers aren't in there. Yeah, but Bernadette, I saw Bernadette with her hand up earlier, but you put it down. So if you do want to share, this is your time. We have a few more minutes before we get ready to head into breakout rooms. So Bernadette, was that you with your hand up earlier?
Yeah, it was totally.
Awesome. Go for it.
So for me, my mother's from Chile, and I'm the oldest of 5, and my father, so she's the only one here. So I don't have the community. I didn't know I was Latina, believe it or not, until I was in college, which is crazy, because I was just surrounded by non-BIPOC. And so for me, it was just coming into that, like, what does that even mean? And so it's interesting because I had like kind of like a reversal effect where as I was learning, I was connecting more with my mom. And then I was like, oh, this isn't just something that we do in our family. This is something other people do that are also Latina, Latinx, And so for me, one of the things I think was, it is just family values, like super, super, super important. So it's the same thing. Like I unfortunately had an unhealthy marriage, but it was just normal for me to be with my parents, move back in with my parents, and they just took care. They were the parents with me. There wasn't anything different about that. I think the other part, just to also touch on Raquel said, with my mom, we just did gardening yesterday, and there is something very special about that. She did leave and give up so much. And I think there is, for me, I call it Latina guilt. That's something that I carry and I have to tease out a lot of times. And it's just like, I also deserve to have my space and my time, which is okay. And it's like, I don't always have to. And it's okay to say, this didn't feel great with my mom. And that's okay. It doesn't mean she's a bad person. I appreciate all the hard work and what she gave up for me, but it's okay too that I take care of myself. So I know she had to push through certain things, which gave me a lot of privilege for me. And I'm forever grateful for that. And so now I'm on the other end of learning that I don't have to push through everything. That is like, okay, what am I feeling? And I'm allowed to feel that. So that's what I want to share. So thank you. And this is my first time too. I'm a first timer too. Thank you.
Yay. All right. So two first timers here. Thank you so much. It's great to have you all here. All right. So we do have a couple more minutes right before we're going to get ready to go into breakout sessions. But so Bernadette, I did hear you share a couple of values that sounded really important there. One of them, the last one you were touching on, you don't have to speak to this, but if you want to, you can. But that value of taking care of yourself that we're often not taught. Right? Especially children of immigrant families, whether you're first or second generation, oftentimes it's take care of everyone around you, which is important, right? Because that teaches us that we should be with our people and collectively together. But we also have to be mindful of ourselves, right? And how are we going to take care of people if we can't take care of ourselves and if we're unhealthy, So it's really important that you brought that up. I just wanted to highlight that. All right, let's see. So does anyone else have a value? We only have about a minute left, but does someone have a value since we were on that little values topic that you want to share that you learned maybe from your parents, or even just your short, if you want to give us a short condensed version of your path to success on defining what it is for you? Who else has values out there? So I know I have a bunch of them.
I'll go. This is Kathy.
Hi.
Our lady. And my family, my parents told me I could be anything I wanted to be. Yet when I decided to be what I wanted to be, it wasn't what they wanted me to be. So, and I went into natural resources and a very male-dominated profession, and felt very successful to be a woman of color in such a field. Went to college, got my degree. And as my parents aged and I had a successful career, my father would still say to me, anytime you want to go back to school and become a lawyer, we'll pay for it. And he didn't even recognize that I already had a degree and a career. So I had mixed messages.
You had mixed messages? That's hilarious. You said that you shared that they were like, you'd be anything you want. Then you choose something, they're like, well, but maybe not that thing.
Show them the plan, girl.
And tell them you're going to pay them their money back.
Save them.
Did anyone hear anything out of that piqued interest for you? Yeah, Dr. Christine, you want to share? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. Capitalism sucks, but boom. That's all I have to say. It just makes me so freaking mad that we're programming our little people, our young people into buying into this capitalistic crap. And then contorting their lives to fit this ideal. That's, yeah. And I'm a former teacher, so I'm complicit in all that. I get to step back and I get to name it because I've done my work. So I'll just leave it there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, anyone else can jump in if you want to. You can unmute yourself. But yes, capitalism. And I mean, I don't know, it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way hearing them as a parent myself. I have a 13-year-old, hearing them talk about their child as an investment, which is a very capitalist perspective, right? Like, I put money into my kid, I should get a return out of it. What do you like? What? How about just be good to your child? So what else? Anyone else hearing anything? Something you want to comment on? Something, and it doesn't have to be from the video we just saw, right? You had some conversation right before this in your breakout session, and it could also be something that we have not touched on that you think is relevant to our conversation here, right?
I'd like to say something.
Go for it, Catherine.
When you talk about investment, one of the things that I think is really important to consider that's a shift is when we look at one another and we look at our children, it is important to invest in them. But I'm not talking about just monetary investment. I'm talking about spiritual investment. I'm talking about emotional investment. I'm talking about physical investment. So I think it's really key to say, we got to invest in our kids, but we can't just leave it at paying for their tuition. And most people that I know of that have paid tuition for children, they did a hell of a lot more than just pay for tuition. So yeah, I think we might use another term, but the reality is we have to, in order to create and support community and family and children, there has to be an investment, and it's not just monetary. So
yes. Thank you so much for that. And I don't know if you noticed this, you were getting a lot of snaps and claps inside of other people's videos. So yes, completely agree with you on that. if anyone else wants to share, get ready to do that. But I can tell you this. I had a meeting with one of my son's teachers one time who was just harping on academics and had a bit of a very interesting classroom. We'll call it that. And my son was having a hard time in there, and she was just really focused on like, he's got to get his academics down. And, one of the things I told her, I quite literally told it to her this way, like, what's the point of my son being like really good at math or science or any subject if he's going to grow up to be an asshole? Like we've got to have kids that grow up to have values and that are good people, because we have plenty of people that make a lot of money in the world and then they're just destroying our world and they treat other people horribly, right? So like, what's the use in that, right? That's not helpful to us in this world. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wait, okay. Thank you. Catherine's clapping. I thought that was a hand up. But Runzai, you want to go again?
Yeah, I'm glad Catherine mentioned the word community, because that's what I was going to chime in. I mean, we can't really put aside the downsides of capitalism, but in this capitalistic system that we're in, I think it's pretty reasonable for a parent to think, who is going to take care of me when I'm old? And I think when I try to maybe turn that on its head, it's not so much that I've put in all this money into you and now you have to return this investment, but it's more about how can we take care of the communities that we're a part of. And where I'm trying to shift my thinking is that it doesn't have to be this straight and narrow path to be a doctor, right? There are many ways in which we can take care of our communities, whether that's our parents or our siblings, or for me, it's a huge extended family. There's been an older generation that has brought my cousins and extended family to the US for college, but that's starting to fall apart a little bit with my generation because we don't have that same community mindset. We've really been sucked into the individualistic mindset, right, of the US, like, well, I got to get mine and I just got to get my degree and I got to, have my job and do my thing. So I'm worried about that breakdown, that we're not maintaining that sense of community and being creative about that. We really have been sucked into, I got to be an accountant, or, I got to be a nurse or a doctor and get this job. So I kind of empathize with the parents who might also be thinking like, I want you to give back, not just to me, but maybe to your younger siblings or your cousins or whatever. I want you to be in a position to be able to do that. And not just monetarily, to Catherine's point. I think we need to expand beyond that. But
yes, for sure. And we heard this inside of the video as well, right? We heard, I think it was Jenny Mai that she said, your parents just want you to be independent, right? Because our society does focus on this, like, you need to go and not have to rely on anyone. Like, why? why do we have to not rely on anyone? Like, what's the point? Like, why have a family then? We should all be supporting each other, and we need to lift each other up. Why should we not lift like, what is wrong with lifting each other up, and supporting when someone's having a tough transition in work or something like that, right? Like, I don't think there should be anything wrong with that. And that's what I try to teach my child. Of course, he's not working yet. He's only 13, but let's see. So what else? Anyone else catch anything in that video or something else that you want to share? Yeah, go for it, Bernadette. You can unmute yourself.
So everything is just so great. Thank you for everybody, their comments. Very inspiring, very nourishing, validating. So for me, I think one of the things, I'm an educator, former educator, but I will always be a teacher. Once a teacher, always a teacher. And I think one of the biggest things in my process of self-exploration and growth is how the learning and unlearning of the difference between being dependent, independent, and like collaborative with family. Yeah, right. I know I saw someone just saying, right? So, and I think that's it. And I think there's a place for each of those. And I know that, again, going back to my mother, it was like, everything is, we rely on each other for everything, every single thing. It's us against the world kind of thing, And I get that for many reasons of her own trauma. And somewhere, we're also talking about like intergenerational trauma, right? And how that's in our DNAs as well. And so I think, I'm getting goosebumps on this. We all need to hear that one. And so I feel very strongly that I think when we can really take the time to sit and listen to understand instead of listening to assume, listening to respond, listening to react, the truth can come out. And it's like, okay, is this the time for me to be collaborative? Is this the time for me to really be independent? You know, I think there's a time for all of that. And I think that if we can shift the language in that regard, I think that will be helpful and supportive for so many of us. So
yes.
There you go.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I saw that you had your hand up, Raquel. So we're going to hear from you next. But you brought up something really important. You started saying, oh, like maybe I don't want to touch that. So yes, if it gets a little heavy tonight, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Have yourself some Kleenex. If we share stories that make us feel, like we're reflecting on things that are hard to hear about. Water, make sure you're nourishing your body. And if you need, so a little agua florida to spray to make yourself feel a little better, right? Go for it, Raquel.
Oh my God, that was that whole little thing you just did was so good. I teach in communities where we live in community for about 25 days together at a time, right? And these little microcosms they're so powerful because in that 25 days, we have to become interdependent. And I think it's so important. And I come from a culture where I remember I was going through a really intense breakup, and my aunt is 91 now, but she would be like, oh, Raquelita, we don't need anyone. I'm crying. And I was like, oh, my heart's breaking. And she's like, we don't need anyone. Raquelita, you're fine. And I remember in that moment going like, no, that's not true. Like, I need people. I need other humans to like support me and lift me up. And I remind students of this all the time, that in these communities that we create and we co-create, in yoga, we call it kavacha, which a kavacha is a shield. And it's like we have our own shield. But then when we come together, we create a kavacha that is all of us together. And that community is shielded. And the beauty of it is that when you forget, and you will, right? Like I probably everybody's going to put their hand up, that there are moments where you do not know who you are and you forget who you are. And you're like, I don't even recognize myself anymore. That community is who you call on to say, like, if I call Rosella and I'm like, I don't know who I am right now, then I'm going to hope and depend on her saying, this is who you are. I'm reflecting back to you exactly who you are in this moment. Even if you don't remember, I'm going to remember for you. And that's where interdependence becomes so deeply, deeply important. And I just feel this topic so much. So yeah, thank you for bringing this up.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, I saw earlier in the chat, as you all were sharing, right? But I saw earlier in chat about independence, interdependence, right? And then what we heard in the video, and I see your hand up, lady, so we'll get you next. But yeah, like this idea, I think out in the world, there's this idea of independence being an either or. You're either independent and you can do everything on your own because you're like so strong, right? Which is a very patriarchal rooted concept, or you have to rely on other people, which then under patriarchy is telling us, oh, you're feminine because you can't do shit on your own, which is not true, right? We know that better, right? Everyone in here comes from a legacy of people who were communal and did things together, and we came along together, right? And at the same time, in your collective unit, you can be your own self. You can have your own identity. You can have your own success, right? Along with your people. So go for it, lady. You can unmute yourself.
What struck me is that if the definition of success is to be a doctor or a lawyer, it's definitely part of the patriarchal, white, capitalist society. And as coming from a mixed race family, I will never be part of the white, I will never be successful in a white patriarchal society. It's just not a possibility. And growing up, women and people of color were certainly not allowed to become doctors or lawyers. So it's a definition of failure as opposed to success. And that's what strikes me.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So on point, right? Some of us can't never be part of the system that we currently survive under, right? We exist in it, we survive in it, and there are doctors that our parents want us to become, and then there are doctors or healers that are in our communities that help us stay well in a more holistic sense, right? Not just you broke your arm and you got to fix it, right? That's important as well, right? But if everyone becomes a doctor or a lawyer, who's gonna make your tacos? You know, who's gonna fix your pipe when it busts? You know, like, you know, this is what we learned during the pandemic, right? All of a sudden we learned about essential workers. They've been there all the time, right? Making your food, busting your table, washing your dishes, taking care of your kids at the park all day long while you're out making that successful money, so supposedly, right? And so we just have to like redefine what we mean by success, you know, because we've already heard it here that it means other things other than financial wealth. There's something from that video I saw earlier that caught my ear, but I want to see if anyone wants to add anything, say something, or even ask a question. Remember, we can ask questions of each other as well. Were you raising your hand, Erika? No? Okay. I thought I saw your hand coming up a little bit there. Not trying to put you on the spot. Okay. So in that video, well, there was a bunch of things that stood out to me in that video, right? But there was also the part where it was like, do you have a plan or are you just wanting to chill, was the general comment, you know? Because for some reason, just chilling or choosing not to wear your body down your entire life just to like spend your last years finally doing stuff you want, it's bullshit, you know? Like, who gives a shit if I want to chill? Call me lazy, call me whatever you want. I don't want to work my whole damn life away, you know? Also, and I'd like to hear from you all, I watched my mom do that. I watched her work a 9 to 5 and then a part-time job, you know? And part of that meant watching her do that because she wanted success for us meant that I didn't see her that often. So what was the point of it? You know, like we didn't get time together as much as we should have, right? So who else has maybe an experience similar to that? Oh, I see a hand coming up. Is it Danielle? Go for it. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Daniel. I live in Hawaii now, but I am from the East Coast, upstate New York. And my observation kind of is, if you, not from the video too, but just in general, you come to America and the whole thing is to succeed is to get out of the house as soon as possible, get your own place, become independent. You know, we mentioned that a couple times, and that independence means you're on your own, but you need the family to help you out. And moving to Hawaii, it's more family-based. So you have grandparents living with their kids who are living with their grandkids. So you have that whole family dynamic. And I think that happens too in a lot of other cultures outside of America. And I think we have that disconnect in America. Like, you're not successful because you're living with your parents. But the thing is like, but wait, I'm saving money. I'm able to support them. They're able to support me. And I think we have this major issue in America of seeing us as independent, but we need that family. That's just something I noticed living out here, coming from the States.
Yeah, for sure. Right. We live in an era where you're supposed to like not live in a home together or something like that. And your like elders are supposed to, I don't know what, just like rot away by themselves in a room somewhere or something. It's so strange. Right. But it's also like what this generation is growing up around. You know, a lot of kids don't see their elders because they're off somewhere being taken care of, and you just visit them sometimes, you know? And I think that brings us back to capitalism and what it's done to us. Danielle, go ahead. You want to finish your thought?
Yeah, just this, the whole thing, you have to pay for childcare when you're a parent, and then you never see your kid, and then you're paying for the nursing homes for your parents, so you never see them either. But so you don't see your family, but that's who you call your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Raquel, I see, Renu, I see your hand up. My screen's shifting around here. Do you want to, so we're going to get ready to go in breakout session. So if you want to share out really quickly, and then we're going to get ready to send you off into your groups again.
Okay. So
yeah, go for it.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll condense it into one. I think there's a generational shift, which was the second question in the last breakout. The idea that you got a degree and all of a sudden you get a great paying job, or understanding that you work really hard. Your parents worked really hard in jobs that they didn't really care for, so that their kids could have what they didn't have. And as I get older and I have family members that are, young adults that are, you work hard to make sure they have what they need. You want them to be successful. I had an aha moment as an adult with, interacting with younger adults and seeing how you want them to succeed, and understanding that there's a generational shift of what success looks like.
This is a pay what you can gathering. I think we might even have a little bit of music to go along with this part here. So you see PayPal, you see Cash App, you see Venmo, QR codes on the screen. You can use your handy little phone if you need to. Also in the chat, there should be a link in there also to any of these spaces. So we'd appreciate if anyone's able to share a little bit of your funds, especially with the topic for this month, right? We are trying to be successful over here. And part of that means that we got to keep this platform up and running. And we got a lot of work to do. We got people to pay to make this happen every single month. So hope you all are enjoying yourselves, enjoying the space. And so one more time, I'm going to plug that again. If you're able to make a donation or a contribution, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us out. What we're going to do on the whiteboard is we are going to add some affirmations on here, quotes, ideas. If you're good at drawing, you can draw onto this document. You all have had all of your amazing discussions that I unfortunately didn't get to hear inside of the breakout sessions, but you can start adding stuff in here, right? So let's say we have abundance, money with our little alligator symbol. I'm almost 40 and still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's good. You must be a Toys R Us kid like me then. You don't want to grow up.
Yes, I am.
You belong, smiley face. That's always useful and helpful. Working class. I see working class on there. Yes. Money, 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 money. Someone's adding money on there. Let's see what else. Think about words, phrases, stuff that you can type on there, maybe even quotes from some of your favorite writers or thinkers out in the world. Let's see what else we have on our peace in, peace out. Feel free to draw. We got the money symbol on the screen already, which of course our meetup is mostly about people that aren't focused on money, but we also have to survive in this world, right? So you have to make money. You got to be able to pay rent, pay your bills, and so on, right? Working class kid. Awesome. I like that. That's really cool. Let's see what else. I'm going to wait a couple moments here. Let's see what else all of your creative brains are going to put on here. You can also write values. Remember, we had values earlier that people were sharing. So we have mixed and magnificent. I'm trying to think what were some of those values that we shared out earlier. Interdependence was one of them, right? From the grind cult, be educated. Oh yes, awesome. A heart. Glad somebody put that on there. Having a good heart is a successful story. I'm allowed to be me all the way and still be a part of my family's values. Yes. We all have to learn how to carve out our own space for ourselves and still be connected to our people.